Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our show, Cruising with a Case Handler. All right, my name is David Squeezaniki, and we are going to be talking immigration and personal injury for the next 30 minutes at least. I want to welcome each and every one. I want to welcome Nelson Madrid. I want to welcome Allen Kaye. All right, and we are here today. And before we get into the show that is about immigration and personal injury, all right, I wanted to actually rev up the phone lines right now, all right, and get everything going. Thank you also for the people that's tuning in on 93.5 WVIP FM. Okay, do appreciate you, all right. Also want to say thanks to all the folks that's tuning in on our Facebook pages, which I will ask everyone that's on the Facebook page to actually, share it. All right. Now that the attorneys have decided to all join us. All right. I would like for everybody to start sharing before we get the show. I'm going to be spending at least 60 seconds, every show to let people know that they can actually share the page with their friends. This is going to be a powerful 30 minutes. The show is on, of course, immigration and personal injury. You can ask all the questions that you want to ask. Don't be afraid to post your question in the comment section. Don't be afraid to post your questions in our WhatsApp groups. I've got 3 stalwarts in the immigration capacity with me today. I dare any immigration attorney across the entire nation to challenge any of these attorneys, and I say that without any apology. And if you take the chance and go with another immigration attorney, you're doing just that. You're taking a chance. At least I know one thing for a fact. Pollack, Isaac, and DeSico will not take your case unless they are 100% sure that they can help you. They don't play that, as we say in the street. So once again, everyone that's tuning in, you're looking for that right firm. You're looking for, in my opinion, the best firm. They can't say it. It is definitely PPID. That's what we call them. So all you folks out there looking to get your immigration situation started out, first things first. 1, do not do it yourself. 2, do not go to a consultant. 3, do not go to a pastor or someone around the corner, which is the same thing as a consultant. 4, make sure you hire PPID. That's what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure you reach out to them. And their number happens to be 844-774-3529. That's 844-774-3529. The name of the law firm, Pollack, Isaac, and DeSico. I am David Squeezaniki, and I'm here with you for the next few minutes. We're going to be answering immigration questions, talking a little bit about personal injury. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
So far, so good.
Good, all good. Up late last night watching CNN and Fox and getting the election returns. That's
Why don't you bring us up to date, because I didn't get a chance to watch it all. What exactly? I'm giving you 3 minutes, Conrad, to tell me exactly what happened last night. I noticed that Nelson posted in the group, 1 down, 1 to go. So expound a little bit. You got 3 minutes, man, because if I give you more than that, Adam is going to be calling.
Start the clock. Basically, there was a runoff in Georgia yesterday for 2 Senate seats, and the Democrats have already won one of them. So now the split in the Senate is 50-49 in favor of the Republicans. There's one more seat that's up for grabs. It looks like the Democrat, John Ossoff, is ahead. If he wins, which it looks like he's going to, there's going to be a 50-50 split in the Senate. And that means with our new president being a Democrat, the vice president, Kamala Harris, will be the deciding vote. The vice president is the president of the Senate, according to the Constitution. And all of you out there studying for your citizenship exams will know that. But she will be the deciding vote in the Senate, meaning that the Democrats will flip the Senate. And that means Joe Biden will have a much easier time getting through his policy initiatives, changing regulations, changing the law. McConnell will not be the leader of the Senate anymore. And Charles Schumer will be, and he is a friend of immigrants, and a lot of good stuff. I mean, this is a major development. I mean, this will allow the Biden program to proceed pretty much. I mean, I shouldn't say totally unhindered, but very much so in a lot of respects. So it's really good news. It's particularly good news for the immigrant population in the United States, particularly so. Good stuff.
Yeah, I don't, I think you really need to take another minute and explain the structure of how the government is set up and why, it's important for the Democrats to have full control, which is, in my opinion, going to do better for this country. A lot of people think, oh, we just vote for the president and especially our immigrant community, you just vote for the president and that's it. It stops right there. There's more.
Well, the old expression is, what is it? The president proposes and the Congress disposes. That's a law school term that I remember from way back when. But anyway, basically, generally speaking, the president proposes new laws, and it's up to the Congress, which is composed of two houses, the House of Representatives and the Senate. It's up to them to pass the laws. President can't just make his own laws, although Trump might think otherwise. But the Congress is the one that passed the laws. Now, if there is a divided Congress, so as it's been until today, the House is Democrat and the Senate was Republican. They don't often agree, especially these days. Very rarely do they agree, and that's why you have gridlock in the government the way we've had for so long. If the Senate goes Democrat, which it looks like it's going to, that means it's all three branches of the government are Democrat, and that means they can move things along. There'll be a lot less gridlock, a lot less disagreement. And Obama had this for the first 2 years of his term, didn't do much with it. Trump had it for the first 2 years of his term, also didn't do too much with it. We'll see what Biden is able to do. Also, importantly, according to the Constitution, the Senate advises and consents to many of the cabinet and people around the president. His attorney general, for instance. Now, the attorney general that might he hasn't made a choice for attorney general, but the attorney general that he might have selected if the Republicans were in control, he would have had to go easy and try to get somebody that the Republicans would agree with. Somebody that's not going to go after the president, meaning Trump, someone who's not going to conduct investigations into the previous administration. Now, if the Republicans, or rather if the Senate goes Democrat, basically Biden has a carte blanche. He can hire whoever he wants as attorney general, and that person can very well start making all kinds of trouble and investigations for the previous administration. That is a serious change. So whereas before he would have been very careful, because again, you have to get Senate approval for your attorney general. You can't hire the attorney general unless Senate consents. Now he can bring in someone like Sally Yates, who will go after Trump. She was the acting attorney general when he came in. He fired her, but he very well may hire serious Democratic partisans that will investigate the previous administration. Whereas before, with the Republicans in control, he probably wouldn't have been able to do that. So this is a major change, and that's just one example. With immigration, again, he can bring in people like Mayorkas is going to be, he's nominated for secretary. He might not have cleared the Republican Senate. A lot of these people don't like him. A lot of Republicans didn't want him to be running the immigration service. Now, if the Democrats are in control, he's a shoo-in. He's a shoo-in, and that's good news for immigrants because he's a good guy. Alan, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I was about to say, Allen, can you take it from there?
Okay, I just wanted to give some updates, and I agree with your analysis of what's going to
Alan,
happen.
before you give updates, I actually I wanted to talk to you about citizenship, because
Yes.
obviously there's new changes, there's questions, it's a different format. And I will be traveling very shortly after this call. I will be on my way to Vermont to represent someone who is applying for citizenship.
In other words, Nelson's going skiing.
I wish. So my question is, I know that the format of the civics exam has changed. When does that go into effect? Would that affect my client who is scheduled for a naturalization interview tomorrow? She filed in October.
It will not affect your client. Your client will be subject to the old naturalization test, the old questions and answers.
Okay, what was the format of that old exam, and when does the new exam go into effect?
That's the one where there are, 100 questions, and those are the old questions. The new questions are were designed to make it awkward and difficult to understand. This client who you're going to Vermont on will be subject to the old test where there are 100 questions. She's got to get 6 right.
6 out of 10.
Yep.
Okay, and the new format would be they are asked 20 questions and they have to get 16 out of the 20 correct.
Yeah, and they're much more difficult. The new questions are designed to make it difficult to understand. And this is for applications for citizenship that were filed after December 2nd, 2020.
Okay, thank
So
you.
You're on the old tests.
Okay, thank you so much for that clarification.
There
Okay.
you go. That's, of course, Nelson asking Allen Kaye a question. Of course, he knows it, but he just wanted you all to understand and know a little bit more about the citizenship and what has changed, citizenship questions and what has changed. Now, Nelson, before we hand it over to Allen, I want everybody to know that you can go with people on their interviews to make them feel more comfortable and to, of course, make sure that the immigration officer does not take advantage of them. I think that is extremely important. If I have an interview, I wouldn't want to go to an interview, sit in front of an immigration officer, especially if I'm out of status, and have them corner me and ask me, in my personal opinion, unethical questions. So I want everybody to know that's listening 93.5 and watching us on Facebook that they should call you at 844-774-3529 and have you, a 14-year veteran with immigration law, to take them or accompany them rather to the interviews. I believe it's extremely important, and I want for you to expand on that, what you think about
Absolutely.
the interview.
Absolutely, and I completely agree with you. One of the primary reasons why I am going to Vermont to accompany this one client who has filed for naturalization is there is an issue with a potential issue with continuous residence, right? So one of the requirements is that, obviously, if you are outside of the United States for more than 6 months, there is a presumption, a rebuttable presumption, that is, that you have broken continuous residence or that you're living outside of the United States. Again, as I just said before, there is a rebuttable presumption. That means that the officer can actually question you and you have an opportunity to respond if the officer feels and believes you have broken the continuous residence requirement. If you go alone, obviously you do not know the law, okay? You do not know that you have an opportunity to rebut or respond to the officer's findings. So this client has been in and outside of the United States for an extended period of time. They've traveled many times and been out for 120 days, 140 days, 150 days, 189 days. So this is a little complicated. And my client obviously feels more comfortable going with an attorney who understands the law, who can explain, because again, if you go by yourself, the officer will just tell you, shut up, I don't want to hear it, or I disagree with you, I'm an officer, please don't tell me how to do my job.
Right.
When you go with a lawyer, your lawyer can say, you're actually incorrect. Here's the law. Here's the statute. And if the officer refuses to listen or acknowledge what it is you're saying, you can escalate that and ask to speak to a supervisor. An officer and a supervisor is not going to just blow off an attorney. Obviously they will engage that attorney. I believe one of the benefits of that is this, by having an attorney present with you and addressing any issues raised during the interview, should only streamline the process, right? If you go by yourself, now, if there's an issue, you don't find out about the issue until 6 months later. Now you have to respond. Now, if you hire a lawyer's not going to know, obviously the documents that were prepared. He didn't prepare the documents. He has to familiarize himself with the case. You may not have even been eligible for citizenship, and someone told you to go ahead and file. So I believe these are the benefits of actually having an attorney, accompany you to an interview, having the attorney prepare the application. My client is fully aware of the issues. In fact, my client was having some sort of legal dispute in their home country. So one of the things I recommended is can you bring documents, translated documents regarding that legal dispute, as well as the original documents, to demonstrate that you had every intention on returning, that you're not living abroad, you're not working abroad, you've maintained your residence here, you continue to have contacts with the United States. The only reason you were out was because there was a legal dispute that was going on and you had to address it. But if she had done this on her own, I'm not sure she would know what to do, what to take, what to say. As I said, if the officer simply says, well, you've broken continuous residence, it's not that simple. There's a rebuttable presumption. And we are prepared to address that presumption if it is raised at tomorrow's interview.
Nelson Madrid, we call him the Maverick. Once again, especially if you have ever been arrested or you have any issues pertaining to getting your citizenship or in reference to your status, your green card, you must hire PPID. Make sure you call Nelson Madrid, 844-774-3529. Now, before we get into it, I got a question for you, Conrad. This one, before Allen takes over. A question says, I am a Jamaican and my fiance is a United States citizen, but not by birth. We have known each other for 7 years and we have shared a relationship for 2 years now. He visits me here in Jamaica a couple of times and sends money every month for my son and me. Can he apply for a fiancé visa for me? How long will it take?
Yes, he can certainly apply for a fiancé visa. Typically, it takes about a year to get a fiancé visa these days. But one of the requirements, in fact, the principal requirement of the fiancé visa process is once you get the fiancé visa, you come to the United States, you have 90 days to get married to the U.S. citizen who sponsored you. And then you have to apply for your green card once you're here and go through that process, which will take another year or so. I'm not a big fan of fiancé visas unless it's absolutely necessary. My preference is that the U.S. citizen goes to Jamaica, they get married, and then they file directly for the green card. The process will still take about a year, but when the person comes to the United States, they'll have a green card as opposed to just a fiancé visa. They'll come with a green card and basically be done, as opposed to coming with a fiancé visa and having to start the whole process to immigrate to get the green card and go through all of that process and expense as well. So given the fact that applying for a fiancé visa and applying for the green card, roughly the same amount of time, give or take a couple of months, I think it's much better to just get married and apply for the green card. It saves time, it saves money. So that's what I would recommend, but we could go either route. That's really up to the person.
Is that like my friend I had you speak with the other day?
Exactly. In fact, that's exactly what she was talking about. She wanted to just do a fiancé visa. And I had said, and I said, why? She said, well, I can't get to Jamaica, the flights, this and that. I said, well, first you should talk to Squeeze because he seems to have no problem going to Jamaica. He's there every other weekend. But other than that, I said, look, get on a plane, go marry him, come back, come to my office, and we'll get him a green card. It'll take about a year. That's the way to go. And that's what she's going to do. She's following my advice. She's trying to get a flight. I assume she contacted you to find out your connections with the airlines. And she's going to go down there, marry him, and apply for him. That's the way to go. That's what I would recommend. I'm not a fan of fiancé visas.
Gotcha. Conrad Pollack, the managing partner of the firm. We deal with practicing attorneys here, not some guy that's sitting in his office talking and running his mouth off and doesn't get involved. This is PPID, 844-774-3529. That's the phone number. Call it now, 844-PPID-LAW. Allen Kaye, answer this question before you give us the news update. I am a Jamaican. I wonder why I'm getting a lot of Jamaicans, maybe someone's in Jamaica somewhere. I'm a Jamaican and I work in the United States on a J1 visa for 5 years. In the final year, I was introduced to my partner and we fell in love. My J1 visa expired in 2019. I was required to take a 2-year break from work in the US, and so I returned to Jamaica. I went back to the US on my B1, B2 visa for a 2-week vacation to spend time with my partner. I spent 2 months with her. I did not work and came home in August 2019. And in August 2020, I booked a surprise trip to the US on my B1, B2. When I arrived in ATL, Georgia, I was stopped at customs and my phone was taken and searched, and I was questioned. My carry-on, my purse, and my cell phone were confiscated and inspected while I was in isolation at the airport. This lasted about 3 hours or more, going back and forth with the same questions. My partner was contacted and interviewed about my arrival, including several questions about fiancés and about potential work for me. She informed the officer that I would not be working and that I would be fully supported and taken care of. They also asked me if I had money, and I told them I had my card. I was denied entry and accused of lying about going to work in the US. I was labeled inadmissible, and my travel visa was suspended for 5 years. I was sent back to Jamaica the next morning. What can I do to get back to the US? I know Conrad is like, everybody tries to do. I'll let you respond, Alan. I don't know. You guys take it from here. I wanted to get that one in before we actually get to your updates.
We have to look a little more into what happened at the airport, because if they're accusing this person of committing fraud, that's a very serious infraction and very difficult to get rid of. So we need more information about what happened at the airport, and they could have given you a statement to sign. If they did, we want to look at the statement and see what happened. Even if you don't have a statement, we want to sit down and find out what were the questions they asked, what happened. So we need a lot more information to see if we can straighten this out.
Alan,
No,
it sounds like expedited removal. It's a 5-year ban. That's serious
right.
stuff. Go ahead, Nelson.
Right.
Yeah.
And, I just wanted to add, I saw Conrad smiling in the background. We've spoken about this before on the show. Anytime someone is entering the United States, the analogy they use is that you're knocking at the door. You don't have to be let in. You're asking to be let in. We've spoken about how they can go through your phone, how they can go through your luggage, how people, have gotten their visas literally ripped up in front of them, how people have been made to sign statements, how people have made statements, how obviously they felt pressured to say what it is they said. This is something very common, unfortunately. And it sounds, as Conrad said, that this person was expeditiously removed, which basically means that this person was deported at the airport and cannot come back into the United States for the next 5 years. If the person returns to the United States illegally, they will be subject to what is known as a permanent bar. It's INA section 212A9C1.
Nice.
You got to drop a little, let's drop a little case law there.
That's the reason why you the man. You people, PPID, Nelson Madrid, the Maverick, dropping gems.
And, obviously, again, if you re-enter illegally, you're subject to the permanent bar, and legalizing your status would be literally almost impossible.
Go ahead, Nelson.
Go ahead. So, obviously, her best shot would be to wait abroad for the next 5 years and eventually try. Now, because she was expeditiously removed, this is part of her immigration history now, right? So immigration will take this into consideration and may not issue another visa, So, unfortunately, this is the risk she runs.
Let's talk about some history here. She mentioned that she had a J1 visa for 5 years. What she meant, I'm assuming, is the visa was valid for 5 years. You don't get a J1 for 5 years. Maximum time you typically get a J is, depending on what kind of J, is a year or a year and a half. J visa is an exchange student or an intern or some kind of internship, come to work as a hotel manager or to come in and work as an au pair. Those are all J1s. Typically, you come on a J1, you're here for a year and a half. The visa may be valid for 5 years, although that's I don't know how that was possible. But anyway, that's beside the point. So oftentimes a J1 visa is subject to a 2-year foreign residence requirement, which clearly hers was subject. What that means is after you finish your program here, after you finish your exchange program, you have to leave the United States for 2 years, which is what she had to do. Now, that 2-year requirement is strict. If she came here for a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, she said, during that 2-year period, she has to go back and add that 2-month period to those 2 years that she's supposed to be out. It has to be a complete 2 years outside the United States. That's number one. Now, she had been here for a period of time. And she left. Apparently, she complied with the law. She complied with the requirements of the J1 program. She left and then wanted to surprise her fiance, whatever, came back with a tourist visa, no problem, left and came back again, probably too quickly. But when this person got to the airport that second or third time they were entering the border official obviously thought that this person was working here or living here or planning to get married or something. And that's when the suspicions arose because of her travel history. She'd spent a lot of time in the United States and been traveling back and forth here too often. And this person, I'm not sure if it was a man or woman, but he or she ran into the wrong border official at the airport. And what they did is what they do. To put you in the back room, you go for secondary inspection, and they go through everything that you own, your bag, your wallet, your suitcase, your computer, your phone, everything. And she was put through the ringer. In fact, she said only 3 hours. That's not bad. Alan, we've talked about cases recently where they spent the night in that room being peppered by different people with same questions over and over. It amounts to, it's close to torture, what they do to some of these people. But when they sent them for 5 years, that's the magic number. That's expedited removal. And like Mr. Madrid was just saying, it's 5 years outside the United States. Now, it is important this person needs a lawyer. This person should be calling us so we can at least get the process going. First step is going to be, as Alan said, we have to do an application under the Freedom of Information Act to see what happened at the airport, to get a copy of the transcript of her record. See what she signed, see what she said, unless she has copies, which is unlikely. They rarely do. But we need to see what happened, see exactly what was said, and then potentially she can go into the American consulate in Kingston and try to get another tourist visa. Highly unlikely, though. Best bet, based on everything that's happening here, is to get married, submit a visa petition, and then wait. I mean, that's my feeling here.
Just to add to that, David, again, your phone, your luggage, social media, it's all fair game, okay? For anything immigration related. Let me give you an example.
This person wasn't hiding anything. She was coming in here, to visit or surprise her fiance, whatever. I mean, but came in unknowing,
that's right.
In ignorance, and got nailed.
Well, that's exactly my point. I mean, you don't necessarily have to have the intention to work. It sounds to me like she was surprised by the whole experience.
Yeah.
And my point is, it's very common. It's a lot more common than people realize, and yes, they can go through your phone. Yes, they can go through your luggage. Yes, they can look at your social media page. That's important. Even, when you have a case pending with immigration, claiming you're married, they go on your social media page and see you with 3 different women. That's a problem, So
let me just give out the phone number before we get to the top of the hour. You're in tune to Cruising with a Case Handler, a show on personal injury and immigration. Every one of you, call right now if you need immigration help. Call the firm at 844-774-3529. That's 844-774-3529. 844 PPID law. That's 844 PPID LAW. All right, let's get to the top of the hour, gentlemen, and continue. Sorry about the noise in the background. Okay, my apologies on that.
It's 10 o'clock.
David, this is a great story. I represented a couple. It was a marriage-based case, and I remember. I don't know if Conrad remembers this. This is shortly after I started. They went on the wife's social media page, and her profile said she was single, and apparently she was flirting with some man. They had all of these printouts, and basically asked her to explain, you're filing a marriage-based. I'm sorry?
You went that deep?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they confronted her. They confronted her with this derogatory information at the interview and said, can you explain to me why you're seeking a marriage-based visa when you're online as a single person actually flirting with other men? I mean, my jaw dropped. I don't know if Conrad remembers, I had Yankee tickets that day. And I called Conrad, and I was in Connecticut, I think, or like Mount Laurel, New Jersey. I was very, very far from the city. And I called Conrad and I said, Conrad, I think I'm going to be here a while. He said, what do you mean? And I told him what was happening. And he's like, okay, so stick around. I said, I got Yankee tickets. He was like, goodbye, click.
Unbelievable. So once again, folks, the number is 844-774-3529. If you're watching this, share this with someone who needs this information, okay? 844-774-3529. PPID is the name of the firm. Pollack, Isaac, and Nasico. If you need help in personal injury, immigration, obviously, you call them at 844-774-3529. Once again, if you get into accidents, you need to call them also. 844-774-3529. I see the calls coming in, and I like that. Hopefully, these are people who are now understanding you never go to an interview yourself. You never do your paperwork yourself. Let the firm's attorneys do it. Let's go to Allen Kaye, the man with the immigration update and news. Bring us up to speed, my brother, and I got a question for you after you're done.
Okay, let me give you just some updates. With respect to public charge, you still have to file this I-944 form. If you didn't file it, they may ask you, they may deny your case, or they may ask you to put it in, and it's a long and complicated form, which will show that you will not become a public charge if they grant you permanent residence. So 944.
Just to add to that, or issue a request for evidence, as we've seen, right? And when they issue a request for evidence, that would delay your case, because now they're asking you for additional evidence before they can adjudicate your case.
Yeah, and that, but they could come up also at the, either they can say, yo, you filed this application, we need a 944, or we have some questions about the 944 you put in, but it could come up at the interview when you're sitting there with your, preferably with your PPID lawyer, and they ask you, you put in a 944, but it's not complete, we need more information. So that's still required. It's evidence that you will not become a public charge. Next, you still need, because of a recent court case, you're still going to have to show about health insurance, that you have or will get health insurance within a short period of time after you are either come into the United States or after you're granted permanent residence. So the health insurance thing is back. There was a court case on it recently, and that's not going to be another requirement. Nelson and I talked about the N400, the Citizenship Test, and that test is designed to make it more difficult for people to understand and more awkward. In this particular case, Nelson has prepared the client, and that's important. But on naturalization, there's a few steps. The first step is, should you file for naturalization? Or maybe not. Maybe you have skeletons in your closet, and you shouldn't even file, because some people file for naturalization and wind up losing their green card. Next, there have been problems with delays in getting receipt notices from the USCIS lockbox or from other USCIS offices, and people have been complaining it's taking a long time to get receipt notices. Also, a good thing that the American consulates are now starting a phased resumption of visa services, because in March 2020, they suspended routine visa services because of COVID-19. Now they're starting to resume routine visa services, so things will start to get better now going forward in terms of cases that are pending in American consulates. In addition, we talk every program about people who have removal proceedings. Now, if you are detained, it's a different situation, but if you have a removal proceeding and you don't have a date yet, they keep pushing the date backwards and backwards and backwards. So right now, people who have removal proceedings are not going to hear anything until at least January 22, and it could be much longer. And
Alan, that's just in New York City, though, isn't it?
Yes, we're talking about the 3 New York City courts. But right now, every time we do a program, they keep pushing it back and pushing it back and pushing it back. And there are about 1.3 million removal cases pending. So that's a problem. Next, so I explained that there have been delays in getting your receipt notices. Some people are waiting a long time just to get a receipt notice. And in addition, there have been delays in biometrics, because biometrics are an important part of an immigration case, where you go in and get fingerprinted, and there are 1.3 million applications awaiting biometric appointments as of mid-December. So you can have to keep waiting for your biometrics appointment, because unless the biometrics is done, your case is not going to be completed, whether it's a work permit or whether it's a green card. So that's been a problem in terms of the fact that they're so far back with biometrics. One more thing now, in communicating with the New York District Office on Immigration Case, Naturalization Case, Adjustment of Status, you can't communicate with them at all. You can't call them. They're not going to answer emails. I mean, if you have PPID representing you, we can get in touch with them, but it's going to be very difficult to communicate with. The only way an individual without a lawyer is going to be able to communicate is to call the 1-800 number, and they're going to put you through different steps before you can even talk to somebody. So this has been a problem in terms of communicating with the local office. You can't go into the local office, in fact. Now, one more thing. If you've traveled internationally or you plan to travel internationally in the near future, and you're waiting for a final interview at USCIS, you're not going to be able to go into a USCIS field office, New York, for example, without being in the US for at least 14 days minimum. So USCIS field offices are automatically canceling final interviews for anyone who's been outside the United States within the 14 days before the interview. So, and we don't know really how quickly, if they canceled your interview, when your new interview will be rescheduled. So you have to be very careful about international travel, because it may affect your interview with immigration. Next, I have a list of the 6 pages of Trump policies that may be finalized before Inauguration Day on 2021. And we expect the Trump administration will continue full steam ahead until January 20th, until the inauguration, trying to
2 weeks, 2 more weeks. That's it. 2.
Yeah.
And then the reality show is over.
Yeah, but in the meantime, they have a little bit of time to try to push out some more of their bad policies, and which they've been pushing out all along. So we can always expect with the Trump administration that whatever we expect, we can't expect. I mean, and so we've got a little bit of time yet before they can push out some more nasty programs. And I've got 6 pages of Trump policies that could be finalized before Inauguration Day. So that's some of the latest updates on what's going on. You better be careful with your health insurance. If you don't have the health insurance, we can try to help you with that. You got to be careful with the public charge and the I-944. But these are some of the things that are going on right now.
You know, David.
No, I want to just add, before I forget, we were talking about the new citizenship test. The new citizenship test, by the way, only applies to those applications filed for naturalization after December 1st. So if you submitted your application prior to December 1st, you get the old test. If you submit it after, you get the new test. Personally, and I've said this before, you know, if you're going to apply for citizenship, you should be able to pass the test. Yes, the new test is harder than the old test. All right, but and there are people that don't speak the language or elderly. I mean, there are obviously exceptions, but in general, you know, if you're going to become a U.S. citizen, you're going to become a citizen of this country. You know, you have to accept the responsibilities that go with that, and that means voting and serving on juries and things like that. There are responsibilities to citizenship. Other countries have more responsibilities, like serving in the military. You know, we don't have things like that. But you know, the test definitely is more difficult, more complicated, more tricky than it was before. But still, if you study and you put in the time, you still should be able to pass the new one, even though it is more difficult than the old one. So that's one thing. And another, you know, I've been meaning to say, Squeeze, you know, our firm puts out a newsletter every week or two. And we provide a lot of the information we've been talking about here today. We put it out in a newsletter in writing. And that newsletter will, I mean, it hasn't been yet, but going forward, it will be on our website at ppid.com. But in addition to that, if you want to receive our newsletter, you can shoot us an email or call David and just give us an email address, or email me at cep@ppid.com. That's Charlie Edgar Peter at peterisaac.com, cep@ppid.com, and just say you want to be on our newsletter, or just put newsletter, and we'll add you to our list, and you'll receive our weekly or bi-weekly newsletter. And there's a lot of very valuable information that we provide to the public on a steady basis. So, so if you're interested, if you like the type of information we've been providing here today and all along since March, give us your email address and we'll put you on our list, and you can receive our newsletter on a regular basis, because it really is a lot of very valuable information there. We get a lot of our clients to squeeze telling us that how they look forward to getting our newsletter. Even some of the lawyers that are on there. There's one lawyer every time I send out something about New York law as well from the Chief Justice of the New York Supreme Court, actually the Appellate Division, actually the Appellate Court of Appeals in New York. Excuse me. And every week I send it out on Monday or Tuesday, and every week she says, "Oh, thank you. That's great stuff. I appreciate it." But a lot of good information that we send out on a regular basis.
And you know what? We should also put a link every time we go live on Facebook, where people can just click on that link and add their name and their email address. We should definitely do that. And also the newsletter, if that can be forwarded to me by your marketing person, we can just send it out to our entire email database also. All right. Want to say thanks to each and every one. Okay. Conrad, I'm going to hit you up in about an hour. Okay. With a question I want to ask you in reference to radio, which I think you're going to like. I think Alan's going to like it. And
can we do it right after the show? Because I have a busy morning ahead.
Yeah, sure. No problem. All right. I just want to say thanks to each and every one for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Cruising with a Case Handler show on personal injury and immigration. Give us a call at 844-774-3529. That's 844-774-3529. That's 844-PPID-LAW. Thank you all so much for joining us. But remember, hire the firm, okay? Hire the firm, you will get discounted consultation. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you call them. 844-774-3529. Hire them. PPID. Thank you all so much. Have an amazing day.